This Sagittarius full moon is going to be illuminating what you believe in, what you stand for, and what you're finally ready to release in service to your truth. In this video, we're going to talk about the archetypes of this full moon in Sagittarius, including the astrology, human design, a little bit of gene keys, as well as tarot and Sabian symbols. It sounds like a lot when I say it. But I try to kind of mesh these into a understanding of this lunation that will leave you with more clarity and insight than when you first started this video. I'll also be giving a little bit of wisdom for each sign and how this full moon is going to be affecting you depending on your placements. This full moon in Sagittarius is happening on June 11th, 2025, and it's happening at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. This is going to be asking us to expand beyond our comfort zone. And one of the most interesting things about this full moon is that the ruler of this moon, Jupiter, has actually moved into Cancer, its position of exaltation, just days before this lunation. So I already did a video on Jupiter and Cancer. I'll have that link below and somewhere in this video so that you can listen to that, because that's going to be playing in a lot to how we experience this full moon during this time. Now, full moons are culminations from the new moons, which this one specifically is a new moon that happened on December 1st, 2024. These are culminations of fruition where something is illuminated to us, which often then leaves us having to release whatever is no longer working or whatever we realize is not helpful to our situation. So I'll have the new moon video that I did as well linked down below so you can revisit that and see if you can remember what kind of themes were coming up for you around that time. Maybe it'll ignite your remembrance of what kinds of seeds you were planting during that time that are now coming to fruition and how they went the way that you wanted or the way that you had no idea. The thing about Sagittarius, though, is that this is ruled by Jupiter, right? There's prosperity here. There's joy, fortune, good luck. And a lot of the luck that we associate with Jupiter and Sagittarius is not necessarily just that they are favored by the gods, right? It'd be easy to say that they are just favored by the gods, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that the luck comes from the optimism inherent in Sagittarius as an archetype. When you believe that there are so many possibilities, right? And so you are open to optimism and the different possibilities of life, well, this attracts more optimistic and opportunistic situations to you. And like I talked about with Jupiter in the Jupiter Cancer video, that Jupiterian people tend to take leaps of faith where other people won't. So it's that, what's that saying? That luck is where opportunity meets preparation. And you have to be prepared to jump sometimes. And Sagittarians and other Jupiterian people are just more likely to make those leaps, specifically depending on where they have Sagittarius in their chart. That's an area of life that maybe they're willing to take the leap more often than others, and therefore they seem lucky in that part of their chart. And I remember when I was first learning about astrology, even though I read all of these things about astrology and took courses and all this stuff, I couldn't really rest until I deeply understood every single sign from an experiential perspective. And I remember I had a really hard time with Sagittarius because the books that I read about Sagittarians and the way that I saw Sagittarius people actually showing up in my life was very, very different. And you have to remember, my moon is at 28 degrees Sagittarius. So I have a Sagittarius moon, but it's completely unaspected, which makes it even more difficult for me to gain an understanding because it's so extreme. It's only conjunct Lilith, Vertex, and the galactic center. And those aren't planets, they're placements. And Lilith makes it worse. It makes it crazier. So I was on this mission to be like, how do I understand these people who I also share a major placement with? And they're nothing like what I'm seeing, because yes, I love to travel and a lot of Sagittarians love to travel. That was like the biggest thing I saw was like, oh, they're just risk takers and they're wanting to travel the world. And I looked around and I saw a lot of Sagittarius who had no concern over traveling. That was the biggest thing I saw. And I think one of the key things that we forget is the wisdom in Jupiter, right? Is the desire for some structure, philosophical thought, for the belief systems, for finding truth, purpose, meaning in the world. And yes, because of the limitless possibilities, I find that a lot of, especially female Sagittarius, but not always, definitely men too, but I notice in my personal life that more female Sagittarius really like the travel aspect, but have a lot of really cool Sagittarius men who also love to travel, and they have just the craziest lives, you know, like they really take these leaps of faith where all of us are maybe more scared, you know, but there is this sense that they are also here to find truth. They're here to find their truth. And where a lot of Sagittarians kind of get lost sometimes is that they believe that their truth is the ultimate truth, and they go on this escapade of trying to make sure that everybody knows that their truth is right and that the other side is wrong. And this is kind of what I've talked about in that Jupiter and Cancer video too. And the reason why I'm saying this is because as this full moon comes up, and full moons are a time where our emotions can be quite high, to remember that your truth is simply that. It is your understanding of the truth. And there are very few, if any, I would say there are probably some, but very few fundamental truths that people actually believe in. For example, I'm vegan, and I can't say that's a fundamental truth just because I believe in it. Someone who is like a carnivore, same thing. And the problem arises, it's very similar to Aquarius in my opinion, is for Aquarius, it's their idea of progress. For Sagittarians, it's their belief. So making sure that we understand that just because we value something and we see purpose and meaning behind it doesn't mean that it is the ultimate truth, and that everybody else who doesn't believe that is just a bad person or is wrong. So just themes to watch out for when it comes to Sagittarius, because when Sagittarians can overcome that, they can become really, really great instigators for change, especially this decan of Sagittarius, which we'll talk about the decan later. But these are not like the warriors in the front of the pack like an Aries would be, but they are the instigators of change behind the scenes that are inspiring people to speak their own truths and to really see beyond the veil. Okay, that's a lot about Sagittarius. Now, Jupiter and Mercury are going to be conjunct during this full moon as well in Cancer. So this is going to be enlivening our conversations and going to bring positivity and infusing our conversations with joy and wanting to have a higher perspective and exploring the possibilities. Like I said, Sagittarius is so apt to do, which can bring a lot of great opportunities to them because they're able to see so many different possibilities and hold all those possibilities at once. Now, this Mercury and Jupiter conjunction will be squaring Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and we've talked at length about the Saturn-Jupiter square, so I'm not going to really talk about it here, but this is definitely going to maybe bring some tension around exactly what I just talked about, around those optimistic thoughts. Maybe we see these possibilities and we have this really broad vision, and then Saturn kind of comes in and with Neptune as well, and kind of confuses us or makes us doubt ourselves that maybe we're not able to achieve what we want to achieve. And so it can very quickly turn from this really expansive state to this really almost like depressive state. And if you are somebody who tends to be more in that depressive state, then maybe it is going to be more expansive for you. But just something to think about. And I definitely think it's worth listening to the Jupiter Cancer all signs that I did, because they talk about the Jupiter-Saturn square more there. Now, the sun and moon are also squaring the nodes of fate, right? The south and north node, which technically creates a grand cross if you count the nodes, which a lot of people don't because they're points, they're not actual placements. This creates a situation in which whatever we are being asked to believe or think or to speak our truth and to go out there in the world and say what we actually believe in, whether or not that's in a very public way or whether or not that's within our family or our friends or whatever, our neighbors, with our neighbors, it's inciting a desire for change, for evolutionary growth, not just within ourselves, but within others. And this can be very uncomfortable for some people. So being not wary of what you say, because that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of speaking your truth. But I find the older I get that there is a sense, especially with Sagittarius moon, that just tends to like blurt things out. There is a sense that you can deliver messages in a way that's loving and kind. It's kind of like how I was saying earlier about when a Sagittarius understands that they can hold space for somebody else's perspective and recognize that that could be something that they really find to be true versus, you know, your opinions or whatever. And you can still have really strong opinions without overstepping and completely demeaning the other person. That's a massive growth area for Sagittarius, and that's where real change can occur. So with the sun and moon squaring the nodes here, this is saying that it's almost like you are growing through expressing these opinions and your truth and what you believe and releasing what no longer does it. And in turn, you are helping others grow in a way by expressing that, but knowing that that may be uncomfortable for some people. And so learning how do you express that in a way that still doesn't neglect certain aspects of you that care what other people think, because that's most of us, right? To varying degrees. We also have Mars in Leo trine the moon and sextile the sun. So this is a beautiful time for taking purposeful and bold action, like I said. Venus and Taurus will be squaring Pluto and Aquarius at this time too. So some tensions within relationships and other people, kind of what I was saying before, like obviously this is in a different part of the chart with Taurus and Aquarius, but that sometimes when we express ourselves in new ways, there is tension. And with Venus-Pluto square, there is a sense that there is evolution and transformation needed in certain relationships. And so this may bring up some conflict and some struggle within those relationships in order for them to transform or possibly fall away. One thing to watch out for with Venus in hard aspect to Pluto is always going to be power struggles. Why are you saying the things you're saying? Why are you doing the things that you're doing within relationships? Is it because you genuinely want to speak your truth, or is it because you somehow feel like you have lost the power in this relationship and you think that this will help you regain it? Oftentimes I find with Venus-Pluto situations, they're kind of lying like just below the level of awareness. Like you really can't see it. It's not like Venus square Mars where you're like, oh, I'm just so mad and I want to like, you know, win over this person. It's much more subtle than that. And we have to get kind of quiet to be like, why am I doing this? Like, am I trying to like torture that person? Or because I feel like the power dynamics are off and I'm in the lower end right now, or, you know, and we have to get really real with ourselves because it's not cute with Pluto. Pluto shows you where your actions are not cute, you know, and that you're human and you're trying to do your best. But sometimes that means that we do want domination. And the more that you recognize that in yourself and kind of accept that in yourself, the more that you're able to see it in the world and realize that it starts with you, right? Now, this full moon is happening in the gate 26, line 4 of human design. This is the gate of the egoist. This gate is about influence, persuasion, manipulation. We're going to talk about this with the gene keys a little bit, because oftentimes when people have this gate in their human design body graph, specifically if they have the full channel, the 2644, this is a placement for a really great marketer, but they often actually feel quite resistant to marketing. And I do think that's like a collective thing, because so much of marketing and business has been skewed to take advantage of people. And so with the moon in gate 26, with this influence, persuasion, and possible manipulation, which can be very positive. I know it sounds very weird, but the manipulation, if you choose to with good intention, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's about like, how do we phrase things to people so that we get our message across in a certain way that they'll understand. So it's not so much about like, oh, I want to take advantage of them, but I want them to understand what I'm saying. And people who have actually gate 26 in their body graph can be really good at knowing like who's sitting in front of them and how to talk to that person. If they're owning that energy, if they're kind of feeling like, oh, I'm feeling manipulative when I do that, and they're kind of stepping out, then maybe they don't think that they have those gifts, but they do. And how amazing is it to be able to align your message in a way that somebody can hear it, right? To me, that's what marketing is. It's like, how do I get this message across to the right people in the right way so that I can find my people? right? And I don't have this gate. So, but you know, because I don't have it, that means that I've had to get really wise about this. So let's talk about, or let's read from Richard Rudd. Well, let's talk about the gene key. It goes from pride to artfulness to invisibility. And what I always say with the gene keys is, number one, if you really read the gene keys, like they're all very similar. Okay, it's very, very subtle differences. And when it comes to the shadow of pride to the gift of artfulness, it's really a frequency shift. So it's very similar dynamics, but when there is a different intention or frequency behind it, it goes from the shadow to the gift. So that's all it is we're trying to shift our frequency into a higher state of being in order to take advantage of the gift rather than the shadow where it doesn't feel very good. He calls this gift the gift of artfulness, and he calls it heart marketing. At the lower frequency, the 26th shadow leads you to believe that you must exert huge willpower to attain your dreams in life. The problem here is that the shadow frequency, you cannot possibly know what your dreams truly are. You cannot force that purpose out into the world by sheer force or will. Your higher purpose can only manifest when you surrender your individual will to nature as a whole. This starts with the understanding that your higher purpose is something you must tune into rather than impose upon the world. And this is something I recently talked about in a video that I did on my channel, but I talk about it all the time here and there and on my website, is that your purpose is already within you and you already know it. It's always like those like little like hits of intuition that you get, and our charts can definitely show us, our human design charts, our gene keys, astrology charts can definitely kind of help point us into the right direction, but a lot of us already kind of know, but we maybe consciously don't feel like that's what we wanted out of our lives in some ways. Like there's parts of us who still believe we're meant for something else, and so there is a discord and a fragmentation within us with different parts within us. And so what he's saying is that it's less about imposing your will and surrendering your will to see like what is the world asking of me, okay? And then he says the difference between the frequency and the gift is that with the shadow, you are effectively consumed by your own ego and its voracious need to feed off success, recognition, and dominance. When you are manifesting the 26th gift, you are not identified with your own ego. It is simply something you use, like a costume you put on before a show. While this is happening in Sagittarius, and we kind of have attributed that to our beliefs and speaking our truth and what we stand for, it can be used in all areas of our lives to see this, that our ego is something that we can use and we need, by the way. We don't want to get rid of our ego completely because it's useful, but we don't want to cling to it, right? It's that thing that I always say about it's not the actual thing that's bad, but it's our relationship to it that often needs to shift for us to feel better about it. The Sabian symbol of 21 degrees of Sagittarius is a child and a dog with borrowed sunglasses. So interesting, right? So the key word here is examination, and the theme is scrutiny. And this is from Diane Roche. I always have these linked down below as well. This symbol speaks to the absence of any clear lines of separation between lower and higher life forms or levels of competency, and to the opportunities that this absence of clear division provides for curing and supplementing individual deficiencies. The image of a child and a dog with borrowed eyeglasses alludes to a borrowed perspective or an attempt to see things more clearly and experience the world through the eyes of another. Thus, it symbolizes curiosity, role play, and a desire for personal growth and higher knowledge. Ultimately, each person creates his reality through his own unique mode of perception and then acts out of it. At its highest, this symbol represents resourcefulness in using every possible means to find new opportunity. The negative is a failure to see the obvious and lack of objectivity. The accent is on ambition and improving your status in the world. You may find yourself struggling to gain more control over your life. Guard against looking at life through rose-colored glasses or only seeing what you want to see. A biased perspective could cause you to miss something you should be paying attention to. I love this first sentence where it talks about how the absence of clear lines are actually the opportunities to provide for curing and supplementing individual deficiencies. So basically, the way that I see this is through attuning to somebody else's perspective, we're able to see things in a way that we maybe wouldn't see them before. And in doing that, it helps us kind of mirror back to ourselves, maybe things about ourselves that we didn't understand or we didn't even know, and therefore it helps us grow as well. And it talks a lot about ambition as well, which is interesting for this. It says that this symbol represents resourcefulness in using every possible means to find new opportunity. The accent is on ambition and improving your status in the world. One of the things that I find interesting about Sagittarius, especially in this third decan, is that there is actually quite a lot of ambition here, but in a more ethereal sense rather than a material sense. I would say in the first decan of Sagittarius, it's definitely more material because the Persian royal star Antares sits in the first decan of Sagittarius, and it is very much about worldly matters. But this third decan is very different because the ambition here is much more spiritual in nature. And this kind of leads me into the tarot card that rules this decan, which is the Ten of Wands, which is known as the Lord of Oppression. I want to read from Marina from Dark Star Astrology. She says this about Sagittarian Decan 3. She says that they are amongst those who are dissing the New World Order, and that's a good thing. And it goes without saying that the order being dissed has not been beneficial for the planet. These people are dangerous because they have the power to move many souls into awakening, enough to cause a tsunami of enlightenment that will prove unstoppable once the momentum gets going. This is why they have to be controlled. This is why they have to be drugged, belittled, exiled, silenced, gaslit, mind control, and made to feel like they have a disorder. Because a lot of times actually with people with this decan prominent in their charts, and for all of us during this time, there is this sense that we're like kind of seeing beyond the veil, and so we may feel like what we're seeing and what we're saying is crazy, and people may make you feel like you're crazy for doing that. She says for Sagittarius Decan 3, the future of the human race is in your hands. For some, sadly, the responsibility can just be too much to handle, so they zone out with the medicines that they are meant to prescribe and not to take themselves. But to those who manage to work their magic without selling their souls to the devil, we bow down in awe. This is kind of where I feel like the responsibility of the Ten of Wands, the Lord of Oppression, comes through in this decan, is that oftentimes there is a responsibility that we take on in so many ways that is not ours to take. This can feel oppressive, because if we allow outside perspectives to dominate our own perspective and to shut us down from our own truth and our own sense of connection to meaning and spirit, then we do kind of feel overburdened. The Ten of Wands often comes up when your life is feeling like it's so hard and that you've been overburdened, you have too many responsibilities, and like you're ready to put those wands down. And the question is the wands have to get put down. Do you want to put them down behind you or in front of you and trip over them? The way that I think about this responsibility that you're taking, see, this is why it's like such an interesting balance, because the Sabian symbol is saying put yourself in the other person's shoes, see it from different perspectives. And now we're hearing like that there can be this oppression that happens if we identify too closely with other people's beliefs and not speaking our own truth, because we feel like our beliefs are crazy or that they're not going to be accepted because other people don't believe them. So there's this very delicate balance between like seeing the situation from the eyes of another. If you want to use my perspective about veganism, or my example that I gave is like that's something that's very deeply embedded in my ethical philosophy. And so when people challenge that, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. And yet there are, because of the work that I do, I spent years cultivating this understanding of like, how do I see it from their perspective that they could actually believe that what they're doing aligns with their own truths, and not letting that though oppress my own sense of what I believe to be true. And saying, yes, thank you so much for, pointing that out to me and sharing your perspective. And I still believe this, And so there's this delicate balance. And this is what this full moon to me is asking us to really hold on to. Like, how do we hold our beliefs with this lightness? So if this full moon stirs something in you, trust it. Sagittarius teaches us that often we have to honor the call before we know where it actually leads, right? This is the explorative aspect of Sagittarius that encourages us to take that leap of faith, even if we don't know exactly where it's going to go. Meanwhile, Saturn is going to remind us to keep one foot on the ground before we make any big decisions anyway. If you like this transmission, please give it a like on YouTube, subscribe, share this with someone who you think would benefit from this, and I will be coming up with ways to join a community as well. So subscribe to my newsletter to be kept in touch about those details. And thank you for being here. Until next time. For Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you guys have this full moon happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is about travel, long distance travel, higher education, law, philosophy, your beliefs, where you find truth and meaning in your life, expanding your consciousness. This is a house where you find your mentor, where you can publish things as well. You've got this full moon culminating from December of 2024, where we had a new moon in this part of your chart. Now something is coming to a fruition. Something is, you're seeing something, the fruit of your labor, of whatever seed that you had planted during that time. So this could look like, you were wanting to, and also the 9th house is a house of teaching something too. So maybe over the last 6 months, you've wanted to find a mentor and now you found your mentor. Or maybe you decided you want to go back to school, you were going back and forth, or maybe you started school and now you're kind of seeing some sort of fruition of the work that you've put in. You could have started this journey on becoming published in something, and now that's coming more into fruition. But ultimately, what this tells me, along with the sun in your 3rd house during this time, is that there is some sort of illumination around your mindset and or beliefs, and how they could be possibly holding you back in your day-to-day life. With this sun and moon squaring off to the nodes in your 6th and 12th house, it definitely makes me feel like, yeah, you're recognizing that, because the 6th, the 3rd, 9th, and 12th house, there's a lot about like mindset, beliefs, and in very different ways, of course. And so you're kind of being illuminated to some sort of deeply held belief that you may have had that's been keeping you small in the world. And this is a perfect time to release anything that comes up that you recognize is old, that it's no longer of value to where you are in this part of your life now. I made a video about Jupiter in Cancer and how it's going into your 4th, and during this new moon, there is a Jupiter-Mercury conjunction in your 4th house. So maybe you're getting some sort of message around internally or from somewhere outside of you around something happening internally, very emotionally, or within your home life that's kind of helping you understand, or in some ways, yeah, like helping you understand what changes need to happen around this time. It's coming from a deep place, but I also feel like you're stepping into a new sense of self because of this, because you're looking at your old beliefs that are no longer working for you. You're listening to any messages that are coming up from deep within you or within your subconscious mind as well. And recognizing the path forward is going to require that you attune your belief system to something that is aligned with where you are now. Now, I did pull a tarot card. Oh, wow. The world definitely comes up for you guys when there is some sort of culmination of one part of your life and you're moving into the next. This signifies that you are definitely at the closing stages of something. So, this is a very general reading, right? So take what resonates. But what I could see this as is like possibly you're entering a new sense of, what do I actually believe is true in the world? Where do I find purpose, meaning, and value, and how am I actually moving toward that? Your ruler is in the 5th house, and this is the house of self-expression, and it's in a fellow fire sign, so there's a natural flow there with you guys. And with Saturn and Neptune here, yeah, squaring off with that Jupiter and Mercury, it really makes me feel like you're really developing a new sense of self that's based on a lot more structure and discipline. And your inner world is making sure that you're not ignoring any messages that are happening around this. And if you're suppressing a lot of messaging, honestly, around this time, you may be dealing with some sort of illness, whether that's acute or chronic, because there is some messaging that needs to come out. And with Jupiter just entering into your 4th house, best to listen to it now and integrate that into your new worldview that you are stepping into, this leadership role or like mentorship role, or you're really stepping into your own. I feel very similarly about Leos, but in different ways. It seems like there's something with all this energy, collective energy moving into your sign. There's definitely something to be said about that. So something is really ending here and something new is really, really beginning. And I'm really excited to hear how this relates to the new moon in Sagittarius that we had 6 months ago. What's going on in your guys' life in the 9th house? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this full moon happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is a house of intimacy, give and take within relationships, shared resources. This is also a house of psychological healing, breaking addictions, the occult, mysteries. Having a full moon culmination here, well, what was happening around 6 months ago, December 1st, around then, 2024, because that's when we had a new moon in Sagittarius in this part of your chart. So what was going on then that's now coming to a fruition, that's coming to a culmination? There could have been, maybe you were trying to break a habit, and like a deeply embedded habit, and you have now beat that. Maybe there were some talks about changing financial or shared resources, and now that's coming to a fruition, a culmination, and you're having a deeper understanding of why things occurred the way that they did, especially with the sun being in this 2nd house right now, because the sun in your 2nd house is kind of trying to shine a light on your sense of worth, your own sense of value, and how that was reflected back to you through intimate partnerships, and how that's currently being reflected back to you within intimate partnerships as well. Maybe for some of you guys, because this is a moon cycle, unless this is very much affecting you, and you have placements very close to this, there could be some sort of a financial gain, or it could even be a loss, like something within shared resources or money that's not yours is being either given to you, like being given to you, or your partner, because the 8th house can be intimate partners, is receiving some sort of money that isn't earned by them through work. But ultimately what this comes down to me is like, you're being illuminated to something within the give and take of your relationships, and how much you believe you're worthy of value within relationships. And that's being reflected back to you by the state of your very intimate partnerships and people that you share resources with. Your ruler Venus is currently in your 1st house, and it's squaring off with Pluto around the time of this lunation. So it definitely does feel as though there may be some tensions or power struggles within your relational dynamics, or you may be feeling like you're trying to appease people and they're just like never happy. That's kind of the vibe I can get, and it can be from like an authority figure or something. But Venus in your 1st, it's like, I'm trying to just be cool with everybody and be very Venusian, as you already are, and yet it seems like no matter what you do, there is a power struggle that's occurring. And with this Venus square Pluto, it definitely is a push to grow, whether or not that means like the relationship needs to transform or you need to transform. The card I have for you guys is the Eight of Swords. Okay. Maybe this power struggle that I'm talking about is, maybe it's in some way making you feel like you're stuck. This is a card, the Eight of Swords is always a card that comes up when people are feeling really stuck. And when they're almost like blind to the resources that could be helpful because there's some sort of mental restriction that is keeping them in a space that they feel like they're being restricted, but really it's almost like a self-undoing. And this makes a lot of sense actually, because you guys have Saturn and Neptune squaring off with Jupiter and Mercury from your 12th and your 3rd. And I talked about this in the Jupiter and Cancer video I did and in the all signs there. But the way this is coming up for me is like you may be feeling like you're trying to appease everybody and play the peacemaker. And maybe the way that you're speaking is actually like incongruent with the way of your subconscious beliefs, and people are picking up on that possibly. Or you're like consciously having these thoughts of like Jupiter and Mercury, like you're wanting to be a peacemaker, but lurking in the background of your 12th house, which is hidden to us, there are ways in which you are holding yourself back from authentically expressing yourself or making peace in a way that doesn't diminish your value in the situation. Because maybe that's a pattern that you've had. Maybe like that's a pattern that you've done in the past, or you've had in the past, where you are the peacemaker by diminishing your own value. And so this is kind of trying to push against that narrative and say, is there a different way? Because right now, this stuckness, I feel like this is very much your 12th house coming through, in which you're feeling this sense of like, why is this happening? Why does this keep happening possibly? Why do I keep feeling stuck, or why am I stuck right now? And the answer is within yourself. So doing some sort of subconscious work would be really helpful with that. If you're interested in a one-on-one session, that's what I do with my clients. So link is in the description below. Please like and subscribe. Let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this full moon happening in your 7th house. The 7th house is a house of partnerships. It's other people, interpersonal relationships or interpersonal skills, business partners, contracts that you agree to, clients. So what was going on around 6 months ago? Is there a contract that you signed that's now coming to a fruition of some sort of thing? Or the 7th house can sometimes be legal matters because it's open opposition. So it can sometimes be that as well. So maybe it's something like that that's coming to a fruition that started around December of 2024 when we had this new moon in Sagittarius. It could be some sort of culmination within a relationship, whether that's romantic, business, friendship, one-on-one relationship. A way that you deal with your clients could also be changing. So maybe you wanted a new way to connect if you have clients with your one-on-one clients, and now that's changing for you. And the sun is in your house, right? So it's in your 1st house. So whenever this axis is highlighted, it's almost like you could be illuminated something about your partner, or you could see, you could be illuminated something about your interpersonal relational style. And somehow that's being reflected through your partners back to you, and like how you're showing up in the world, what your identity is, and how you're actually, if you're actually showing up the way that you want to be showing up in the world, right? Because this is squaring the nodes, which are in your angular houses. So especially if you have anything around 20 degrees of the mutable signs, specifically Sagittarius, but any mutable sign, Gemini, you may be feeling this more. And because of that square to the south and north node, there is this essence that whatever's going on in your relationships right now and your clients in your 7th house is in some way forcing you to really grow, especially in your public facing role, which means that you may have to drop certain aspects of your inner emotional world in order to show up publicly in a way that is actually more aligned with you now. And yeah, releasing old ways of being possibly in relationships that have left you feeling like your relationships are not a good fit or they're too small. I mean, there's so many different ways that this could be showing up for you guys because this is a very general reading. But yeah, in some way, this is affecting your career, your legacy, your public status. For some of you guys, this could be like, you know, a change. I mean, this is a lunation. So generally, unless it's hitting you very strongly, it's not going to be a big change, but there could be a change in status, like going from, you know, single to coupled or coupled to single, or getting a promotion or things like that as well. But ultimately what I see this as is like you're being pushed to grow through your relationships in order to establish more authority in your public life, in your career. Your ruler is currently sitting with Jupiter, which I talked about with Jupiter in Cancer video. So this brings some like a lot of optimism to you guys and expansiveness and exploring and seeing the possibilities. And it's also being squared by the 11th house, Saturn and Neptune. So that could be like almost like you're feeling really excited. I talked about this more in that video, but you're feeling really excited around this time and, you know, embracing new possibilities. And then there's like a harsh reality that kind of brings you back to earth. And don't get too disappointed. This is a needed thing if it does happen. The card I get for you guys is Strength. Yeah, taming your inner impulses. This is the South Node in the 4th house was what's coming through for me there, is that you are being asked to really focus on having the strength to show up in a way that feels aligned, even if it means ruffling feathers. A lot of people misunderstand Geminis, in my opinion. I talk about this in my new moon in Gemini video, but there's so many aspects to this, so many layers to this. And one of them is that like we're really strong characters that like are not afraid of hurting people. And I just don't really find that to be true generally. Depends, but generally I don't find that to be true. And so what I'm sensing is that for a lot of you guys, in order to show up more authentically, and not just for your own sense of self and for your relationships, but for your career and public life, you're going to have to kind of step out in a way that's going to require a lot of inner strength, because it may not be popular. And this could be like a small way, right? Like saying something to your boss or saying something to your friend that, you know, you've been wanting to say, but you've been scared of how it would affect your relationship. Or, you know, these are just different examples I'm using, but it's going to require, this is major arcana. So this is like a major stepping stone, which makes sense because you guys are a mutable sign, like this lunation. This is a stepping stone in your evolution. So it's less about just the situation at hand and more about the way that it's going to ripple out into your whole evolutionary process. So Gemini, let me know if this resonates for you guys. If you guys want to do a one-on-one session with me, I have the link in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this full moon happening in your 6th house. The 6th house is a house of work, pets, illness, day-to-day responsibilities, your daily routines. It's a house of serving others. It's a house of knowing what you want to work towards in this life. And so maybe this is something to do with a new job that you started or a new idea you had about a job that began around, 6 months ago with the new moon in Sagittarius around December 1st of 2024. And maybe there was a new way, maybe there was like a new health routine that you wanted to start in your day-to-day, which would be amazing with Jupiter now going into your 1st house to start some sort of health routine, because the 6th and the 1st house are connected in the fact that they both have to do with like health. Whereas the 1st house is more about health, the 6th house is more about illness. So maybe there was some sort of illness or something that precipitated you wanting to take care of your health more, and you've been doing that and you're seeing the results of that in some way. Or this could have something to do with your pets too. So like something that happened with your pets around 6 months ago coming to a culmination. But if it is health related, then Jupiter in the 1st is also going to be pushing you to want to really take care of your physical body and your, I talk about this more in my Jupiter and Cancer video, of course, that I already made, but yeah, just those two houses can relate on that level. So I can see kind of a theme there. With the moon in the 6th, sometimes this can be a house of conflict as well. So with a full moon, especially when emotions are high, sometimes when we have this full moon in the 6th house, there can be this sense of conflict. And this can sometimes be outer conflict with maybe like coworkers or someone in the workplace or someone who has like an unequal stature to you. So maybe like your boss or like someone that serves you or you serve. But it can also be within yourself, because the sun is in the 12th house, illuminating something to you in the 6th. And the sun in the 12th can make us feel like things are quite murky, like our life force energy is being spent in the background of things and trying to understand things that are hidden to us, like our subconscious thoughts or self-inducing thoughts. So it could be this internal conflict that you're having maybe around work, and if you're feeling stuck around work, whether or not that means you don't have a job, or you're having a difficulty in your current job or something like that. So that's definitely coming up. Let's see if there's anything else. I already talked about the Jupiter and Mercury, and you guys are ruled by the moon. So the fact that this is in your 6th house just makes me feel like there's a lot of emotions around work and service. Maybe you're wanting to be more of service in some way. And this north node, south node squaring the sun and moon makes me feel like, yeah, once again, this situation, this conflict. The 6th house can also be legal matters as well, because it's conflictual. Whatever this is, it's forcing you to change your beliefs around purpose and meaning in your life. Maybe this means that you want to be expanding your horizons more. And this lunation is kind of saying like, yes, you keep getting stuck in the same place, and we need to expand. We need to maybe travel. We need to get out of our day to day, and we need to just see what kind of possibilities lie beyond the current struggles that we're having. The card I get for you guys is the Five of Swords. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this definitely doubles down on the conflict that I was talking about. So I wonder what's happening there, right? Like, this is a general reading, of course, so I can't say for sure what it is. But if I had to assume, I would say that maybe there are some conflicts in your life that are bringing up a lot of core woundings around these like behaviors that you've had, these self-sabotage behaviors that you've had for a really long time. What's going on? Also, the south node being in your 3rd house could mean that like you're having to let go of old ways of relating to people around you. Maybe this has been painful for you, because I know Cancers really, really love the people close to them, and there's such a strong connection to the people close to them, especially family. And so maybe this is bringing some stress for you guys during this time, and some conflict. But like I said, I also feel like this conflict can be very much internal. One thing I want to say is watch your words. Okay, watch your thoughts and watch your words, because we can get very impulsive with full moons, and I know that you guys are so sensitive to the words that you say, and so saying something in the heat of the moment and hurting somebody else could be really hard for you guys. And also be kind to yourself too, because like I said, this could definitely be internal. So Cancers, let me know how this resonates. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'll have a link in the description below. Please like and subscribe if you like my content. It really helps me out, and I will see you guys next time. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this full moon illuminating your 5th house. So the 5th house is about pleasure, joy, entertainment, love, romance, your inner child or children. This is about creativity, hobbies, creative business as well. So what did you begin around 6 months ago that is now coming to a culmination around this time? Maybe you're learning something about the way that you express yourself, because this is the house of self-expression that you are recognizing is no longer in alignment and needs to be released, because it's also a time of release. But I could see this as like some sort of a creative venture that is now coming to fruition, and you are sharing this with the world, because the sun is in the 11th house. So it could definitely be something like that. The 11th house is communities, it's the internet. So maybe you're announcing something around this time about something that you're creating, or something that you are maybe some sort of love or romantic endeavor that you're on right now. Mars is in your 1st house. This is amazing, beautiful support for you guys to be out there doing what feels good to you and carving out your new sense of identity and doing what you want to do. But just days before this full moon, we have Jupiter moving into your 12th, which I already made a video about. And I highly recommend you listen to that because, or watch that because, you know, when Jupiter goes into 12th, it's definitely a quieter time. And pretty soon here, once Cancer season starts, you're going to have your ruler, the sun, in the 12th too. So Cancer season is always a time for Leo risings to go within and to really kind of like reevaluate what it is that they want to do in their lives. So it's like you've had this nice run with, and you will have Mars in your sign till June 17th. And then things start to get a little quiet again. And even during this lunation, you've got Jupiter and Mercury in the 12th. So I still feel like this is kind of, you could be getting a lot of messages from your subconscious in your dreams or doing subconscious work. You could get a lot of really important messages. And I said this with Aries, is like, I feel like you guys in Aries are really stepping into some like leadership position roles, mentorship position roles, even if that means that you're just taking accountability and becoming the leader of your own life. Like, it doesn't have to be like you're leading people. It's like you're leading your own life again. Maybe for a long time there, it just felt like you weren't leading your own life. But this lunation is inviting that back into you, along with just Saturn and Neptune in the 9th. Like, I feel like Saturn, especially moving into the 9th, is doing that for us for sure. There could be some heightened emotions in your love relationship, so be wary of that as well because of this full moon in your 5th. Like I said, your ruler being in the 11th, you could definitely be wanting to get together with people maybe in some ways, or like join, not necessarily join forces, but maybe feeling a little bit more desire to get out into the world than usual, which, like I said, is really good because the sun will soon move into the 12th house and it'll be a time for more retreat again. So the sun moon is squaring your north node in the 8th and the south node in the 2nd. So once again, all of this that's happening with your creativity and your self-expression and possibly sharing that with the world, it's somehow pushing you into like a radical sense of, I was gonna say a radical rest almost, because you have the North Node in the 8th and then you've got Jupiter and Mercury in the 12th, and these are both moksha houses, liberation houses in Vedic astrology. So like it feels like you're being asked really to move towards something and express yourself and all these things, and do it with a sense of surrender to the unknown. So rather than trying to tightly control what's happening, really allow whatever is unfolding to unfold as it is, and kind of relinquishing that control of what it looks like. I feel like the Leos, because you have the South Node in the 2nd, especially, you guys are definitely releasing old ways of making money. That could just be like getting a promotion, but it could also be like getting a different job, or getting rid of a certain job and to focus on another. That could very much be a thing around this time as well. But with Venus in the top of your chart, with in your 10th house squaring off to Pluto in the 7th, maybe there's some tension around these decisions that you're making from other people, right? Like maybe you're feeling like other people aren't supporting where you want to go in your life, or something like that as well. So let's see what card we have for you. Forgot I pulled tarot cards for people. 6 of Pentacles. Amazing. This is a card of give and take. This kind of, actually, when I see this card come up, even though it's a pentacle, which has to do about money, so there could be more balance happening within your resources. This is the North Node in the 8th though, because the 8th house is a karmic give and take house. So maybe there's a redistribution of shared finances. Like maybe you're having to help out more, or somebody else is having to help you out more financially or emotionally, and allow that to happen because there's a karmic readjustment that's happening. So, you know, if it's hard for you to feel like someone can help you or support you, know that, number one, this is important for your evolutionary process to allow yourself to be helped. And if you need to help other people and you generally find that hard, I find that hard to believe because Leo is pretty generous. But if you do have difficulty giving to others and you're being forced to like give a lot of money to someone or something, know that there's still a karmic readjustment happening. Ultimately, this is a time of generosity and a rebalancing of the scales karmically, and that may show up in financial ways. So Leos, let me know how this resonates. If you'd like to work one-on-one with me, I'll have the link in the description below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. This full moon is happening in your 4th house. The 4th house is a house of your home, family, emotional foundations, ancestral roots. This is your mother or the nurturing figure that you had, although the sun is in your 10th house. So really parental influences could be illuminated, and maybe your childhood with them could be illuminated during this time. What was going on around 6 months ago around those 4th house themes? We had a new moon on December 1st in that part of your chart. This could be a fruition, a completion. Maybe you wanted to move, maybe you want to redecorate, and now you've done that. Something like that, or something coming to some home matter, coming to a culmination, coming to a completion, a fruition that began around 6 months ago. And this could have something to do with your career because the sun in the 10th. So maybe you're having to move because of a career, or you're making a decision on a career, and so you're going to have to move because of that, or something like that. Like something about the public life and the private life coming together. But I feel like for you guys specifically, there is a lot of emphasis on the private world right now because you've got Mars in the 12th. So when you have Mars going through the 12th house, it is definitely a time for you to direct your will inward, direct your will on fighting the battles within your own subconscious. So it's less about movement out there because Mars is going to be in your sign soon here. So starting June 17th, June 18th. So until then, this is really about finishing out this Mars in the 12th house transit with an understanding that whatever you are, it's almost like you're surrendering your will to a higher purpose. And this is exactly where you're meant to be, especially because you guys have the South Node in your 1st house. So specifically, if you have anything around 20 degrees of Virgo, this is going to be affecting you strongly, right? Because the South Node is currently at 22 degrees and the sun and the moon are at 20 degrees during this lunation. So whatever is going on within your internal world and your outer world, so this could for a lot of people be like, you know, changes in status. So getting married, getting divorced, getting a job, retiring, something like that. But that is ultimately whatever that thing is with this 4th house culmination and looking to the sun in the 10th. It's ultimately really pushing you forward in how you relate to other people. So because the North Node is in your 7th, it's asking you to release old aspects of yourself that most likely clung on to control, to know what is next, right? This is very Virgoan. It's like, well, what's happening? Like, what's the next step? And the North Node in Pisces is saying, we don't know. We don't know what the next step is. So this is really like going inward to gather that inner strength that you need in order to trust the unknown. But something about this has to do with your relationships and how you relate to other people. Let's see what card I get for you guys. Ah, it's your card. Interestingly enough, you and Gemini both got major arcanas, and obviously you guys are both mutable signs, so this makes total sense. The Hermit, yes, this is the Virgo card, right? And it's about going inward. This is about, you know, you could be seeking mentorship. You've got Venus in your 9th house, where we find mentorship. So maybe you are seeking somebody to ask for help on this journey, but ultimately he's got the lantern because he's going into the deep caves within him. And so the Hermit is definitely about finding the answers within you. And once again, I feel like because it's a major arcana, it's just showing me that there is a major process that's happening here that goes beyond what's actually happening. There's a major evolutionary arc at play that involves you letting go of certain aspects of your identity that have been holding you back and pushing you towards new areas of growth within relationships and relating to other people. How do you relate to other people? This is your focus right now. And this is what this lunation is pressuring from this inner world that you're currently in. And the moon in the 4th house is also very very much about hermiting, right? Because this is your inner world, and you could be possibly being illuminated to something very, very deep about your sense of belonging in the world, and how that may reflect back to like how you grew up, what your parental influence was like, what your ancestral roots look like, what kind of trauma you've had as a child, things like that. So Virgos, let me know how this resonates for you guys. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'll have the link in the description below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and I will see you guys next time. For Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you guys have this full moon happening in your third house. The third house is about your immediate environment, siblings, neighbors, cousins, kind of your day-to-day and the people that surround you. It's also your mindset, communication, words, thoughts, skills, learning. So did you take a new course around 6 months ago and now you're getting the certificate of completion? Or did you want to start learning a new skill and now you're on your way to learning it? These are some of the things that could be happening. Maybe there's something that was going on with your siblings, neighbors, cousins, your immediate environment, something that was happening with a neighbor, something like that. And the new moon that we had in Sagittarius in this part of your chart was December 1st, 2024. So think back to around that time. I have that video in the description actually. So you can just, remind yourself of what was going on around that time for you that is now coming to a culmination, a fruition. There could be a travel for you guys. Like I find a lot of times when this third, ninth house is indicated around this lunation, maybe you're planning travel, or maybe you are traveling more often. Like maybe there's more movement in your life, like you're having to drive to work more often or less often. Like something has changed around your day-to-day movements and your mindset as well. And your ruler, Venus, is currently in her home sign of Taurus, which is really beautiful in your 8th house, asking you to bring some sort of balance and harmony into your deep, intimate bonds, people that you share finances with as well. She is being squared though by Pluto in the 5th. So this is really interesting because it could feel like you're trying to bring some peace and calm there, but maybe your partner, the 5th house is a house of self-expression and love and romantic partners. So maybe your partner is feeling quite Plutonian, or it could be that you are wanting to find a way to please a partner without losing your own sense of power. And that is kind of the gist around this full moon for you guys. And yeah, so let me see what card I have for you guys. Oh, interesting. The Hierophant. This is a major arcana, so this is actually kind of a important theme that we're touching on right now. The Hierophant to me is like a return to basics. The card is traditionally known as tradition. And so it's really about like not straying too far from the beaten path and going back to conventional ideas or following conventional wisdom. This is a card of like religion, higher institutions. It's so interesting because when I really think about it, and this is a Taurus card actually, but it's so funny because when I think about it, as I'm saying those words, I'm like, wow, this is like the opposite of me. But not really, but in a lot of ways, yes. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about you. It's funny because I'm like, I always feel like with Libras, it is always about the other person. This is interesting that I'm having this conversation with myself during this because it's making me feel like, are you standing up for yourself? Like, are you making it about you? Maybe that's what's happening, is like you're recognizing that you need to disturb the balance in some ways to stand up for yourself. Okay. Regardless, that was just like an intuitive hit. With the Hierophant, it's saying that, yeah, it's kind of like a slow your roll, like chill out, take a few steps back. This is not a time for taking really crazy risks. So if you're thinking about taking some sort of a risk, right now is probably not the best time to do it. Maybe get some guidance from an established source of authority. So someone that you really, really trust that may be more conventional. So I wonder if there's something happening within you guys that is making you kind of like ready to jump ship. I don't know, is this like a job situation? Are you feeling like really unsettled there or something? I don't know. The reason why I'm saying that is because this, yeah, it just feels like there's an unsettledness. And maybe around this lunation, like you're going to feel like you just want to take a big risk. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of risking stuff during full moons just because emotions are high. Maybe after, once the emotions kind of die down, but especially leading up to it. And also, you know, I talked about this in my Jupiter and Cancer video, but Jupiter is in your 10th. So, like, yes, big things are coming, but it's being squared by Saturn. So it's like not the best time to make big leaps of with a lot of risk. So if you are taking a risk, make it a smaller emotional leap of faith rather than a big, like, I'm quitting my job, because there's like this unsettledness that's happening within you guys, or maybe it's a relationship. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are going through. But yeah, because this is squaring off with the South and North node in your 12th and 6th house, that's why I'm wondering if there's something to do around a work situation that is creating, or some sort of a conflict. Yeah, here's what I will say. With Jupiter now in your 10th and the North node in your 6th, and they're going to be trying each other by sign, right? It's like, don't worry. Something is coming, okay? Like, something is... I've been saying this to you guys for months, but I really, now with Jupiter here, like, this is when it's really just amping up to another level where there could be much more aligned opportunities coming to you regarding work. And that could just be an upgrade in your current situation. It doesn't have to be a brand new job, but there is more expansion here. It's just, it may not feel like that exactly around this time. Now, this is a very general reading. So for some of you guys, it could be that you are meant to take a leap during this time and that it is time. So I'm just feeling, for the majority, if you're feeling that restlessness, attend to that first is the only thing that I would say. But yeah, ultimately, this is something to do with learning something, your mindset, with a sun in the 9th as well. This could be about travel or wanting to get out of your day-to-day and go somewhere else to kind of expand your mindset and to have a different belief that maybe that's more expansive, and maybe planting those seeds around making a move sometime soon. Whether that's in relationships or work, that's what I'm feeling for you guys. But let me know in the comments below. This is very interesting to me. All right, Libras, if you like my content, please like and subscribe. If you want to work with me, I'll have my link down in the description box. I'll see you guys next time. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this full moon happening in your 2nd house. The 2nd house is about value, resources, money, income, self-worth, self-esteem. So what did you begin around 6 months ago? That's December 1st, 2024. We had the new moon in Sagittarius. What seeds were you planting? Was this a new income source? Was this a new way of taking care of yourself and refining and redefining your sense of self-value and self-worth and self-esteem that now you are starting to see the fruition of in some way? Maybe this is some money coming to you. Maybe this is a raise. Maybe this is you started a creative project, which with the North Node in your 5th house is very much supported during this time. And maybe you're seeing some money come from that already. Maybe it's not a lot. Maybe it is. Who knows? And the sun is in your 8th house, illuminating the depth of your psyche, right? The 8th house is psychological healing, the occult, mysteries, addictions, give and take within partnerships and relationships. This is squaring the nodes, which, like I said, your North Node is in the 5th house of creativity, love, romance. So there is a sense that, especially for you guys, over the next, till July of 2026 with the nodes here, it's really about you, right? And you've got this big conglomerate of planets and points in, I mean, it's not that big actually. Really just Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, and then some asteroids too, in your 6th house of work. So Jupiter being in your 9th, I talked about this in my Jupiter and Cancer video, but like Jupiter being in your 9th, squaring Saturn in your 6th during this time is like, have the vision, but work hard for it right now. Right now, it's more about the working part of it rather than like going off into this grand venture. It's more like, Okay, what do we need to do to get there? Kind of like head down energy a little bit more. Although your ruler is in the 10th. So yeah, once again, your 6th house being illuminated, your 10th house being illuminated, and now this full moon illuminating your 2nd house. This is a lot to do about work, about money for you. But in some ways, whatever the situation is around work and money is ultimately pressuring you to achieve a higher evolutionary purpose during this time, during this full moon. Let's see what card I have for you guys. Ah, yes. The 8 of Pentacles. Yeah, this to me is literally what I was saying is like, put your head down and work. You're gaining mastery in something. And this is the card of the apprentice, the one who is continuing to work and make the pentacles and not really super worried about where it's going, but what they're doing right now. Like, important to have the vision for sure. But the emphasis and the focus right now is on the day to day. And this full moon is just helping you kind of illuminate what it is. Like, how do you want to make money? How do you want to spend money, right? It could be about budgeting as well, more so than just spending money, or getting money, but also how you want to spend it. And maybe this is something to do with a partner or shared finances. Like maybe there's been a change in shared finances over the last 6 months with the sun in your 8th house that now is making you see like, oh, I've got to start saving more. Or you know what, I've been holding on to my money a little too tight. Like we can afford to spend a little bit or something like that. There's something about that balance. But ultimately pushing you, like I said, into a creative new venture. And I'm really excited to see how this North Node plays out over the next year. Yeah. So Scorpios, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'd love to hear about it down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'll have the link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This full moon is about you. So what did you begin 6 months ago, around 6 months ago, with the new moon in Sag in your first house on December 1st, around your identity, your perspective, your attitude, your appearance, especially if you're a Sagittarius rising, how you show up in the world, what your identity is in the world, and how is that now coming to some sort of a fruition, culmination, or an understanding, an illumination that is allowing you to recognize that there are aspects of yourself that you need to or want to release in order to step into this newest version of yourself, not just for you, but also for your relationships, and your possibly clients, right? Because your sun the sun is in your 7th house. So this is somehow regarding how you show up and how it's affecting other people. And maybe that's because you just finished having your ruler Jupiter in your 7th house and you learned a lot about the interpersonal dynamics that you have in relationships. And now your ruler is in your 8th house, which is about the deepening of those bonds, right? And I talk about this in my Jupiter and Cancer video, so make sure you listen to that or watch that if you haven't already. But yeah, it feels like there's some essence that whatever you're going through, whatever shifts you're going through with yourself, somehow have to do with other people, whether that's friendships, romantic relationship, business partnership, or clients, or people that support you in that sense. If you have anything around 20 degrees of Sagittarius, of course, this is going to be affecting you even more because it is at 20 degrees of Sagittarius or any other mutable signs that you have or placements that you have in your chart. Your ruler is sitting with Mercury, but it's squaring Saturn. What I just heard intuitively right now was like a lot of you guys feel like there's a step, like you're moving forward and you're excited, but then like very much feeling pulled back. And this is very much a collective thing with Jupiter Saturn square. But I specifically felt for you guys, and this is a very general reading, so take this only if it resonates, was that like there's been a sense of like things were like tough there for a while. Your ruler was in detriment, and then you start getting excited again, and then within like a few days after this lunation, it's almost like, or around this lunation, you just kind of get pushed back by Saturn. Or on the flip side, it could be that, you know, you're getting a push of endurance from Saturn. Like your Saturn is grounding you from the 5th house in a sense of self-expression that is going to be helping you ultimately deepen your own sense of identity and your relationships. But in the moment, it may feel kind of like a tugging, like a push and pull energy, like friction. And it can even be conflict, honestly. So But ultimately, because you've got this moon in your first, and then you've got Saturn and Neptune in your fifth, and then Mars and Leo in your ninth, making this grand fire trine. Well, Chiron is the one making grand fire trine, but by sign, all of these are a grand fire trine, and they're illuminated. This is really about you, your purpose, your dharma, what your life is about right now, versus like not so much about work. Although a lot of times with our purpose, work is indicated, especially because you guys have Venus in the sixth house. But it's less about focusing on the work and the money aspect and more focusing on the life purpose underneath that right now. Let's see what card I have for you guys. Ooh, Justice. Interesting. Well, this is the Libra card, and you've got Sun in the house of Libra, which is the seventh house. So this could be like asking you to be really fair and, act with a lot of integrity in your relationships with your clients, with other people in general. If you have a legal matter as well, because the seventh house and the sixth house in different ways are houses of legal matters, the ninth house as well. It's just in different ways they can be. So maybe you're having some sort of legal matter that is asking you to like really act with integrity, or you're seeing the fruition of some sort of a legal matter as well with the sun in the seventh house, being, illuminating this, the moon in the first. But overall, when I see the Justice card, it reminds me to be really take full responsibility of every decision I'm making, because there is a law and effect, right? Or I'm sorry, there is the law of cause and effect. So what it's saying is that like balance will come. And so if you're acting out of alignment and you're being malicious, which I don't ever really think you guys are being malicious, but sometimes we get carried away, especially with a full moon, like emotions are heightened. Know that that law of cause and effect is very real. And so whatever decisions you're making right now, what you say, do, it's going to have some sort of a consequence. This is a major arcana. So it's saying like, be really careful about your actions and your words right now. Especially because you guys have Pluto in the third squaring Venus in the sixth. So yeah, especially when it comes to any sort of conflict, whether that's a legal matter or just a conflict with anybody else, be really wary of the words that you use, because they could have far-reaching consequences. So it's, as a fellow Sagittarian, this is really hard for me to say, but sometimes it is better to just like, boop, just to not to say anything at all and wait until the emotions have died down, or you've really had a chance to think about this. Because ultimately, this sun moon is squaring the nodes. And so this is about your inner world being fortified. Less about the external world, more about the internal world and your home life, your ancestral roots, your relationship with your parents. That's what's really being amplified and where your evolutionary purpose lies right now. So it's really less about like making sure life looks good out there and more about making sure that life looks good internally for you. And that means staying in integrity. So Sagittarius, let me know how this resonates for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. If you want to work with me, I'll have my link in the description down below. I'll see you guys next time. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this full moon happening in your 12th house. The house of surrender, of self-undoing, self-sabotage, subconscious beliefs, meditation, spirituality, retreat, overseas or long-distance travel, healing, grief, closure. This is a house that is invisible to us. So what began around 6 months ago regarding this theme? Maybe you were starting a new meditation practice. Maybe you wanted to go on a retreat and now you're doing it. Maybe you wanted to travel somewhere by yourself or take some time in solitude and you've been doing more of that. This is about aligning spiritually and how this is coming to fruition over the last 6 months since you had a new moon in this part of your chart on December 1st of 2024. At the same time, it's illuminating your 6th house. So there's something about work happening here. Maybe something going on at work is illuminating some sort of a subconscious belief that you have about yourself, or some sort of a self-sabotaging pattern that you have. Something around, if it's not work, it's some sort of a conflict that's bringing up, or some sort of an illness that's bringing this up, that's helping you see like how you've been kind of doing this to yourself, like lovingly recognizing that, right? Because we don't do it on purpose, obviously. It's just like we're trying to keep ourselves safe, right? So, and with this Saturn, your ruler, and Neptune in the 4th, these are themes to be thinking about. Like, how have I created a life that feels safe but is not rewarding? And a lot of times this requires like deeper inner work, because the parts of us that required safety were generally very young. And so now we've carried those systems or those beliefs with us time and time again. And South Node is in your 9th house, right? Relinquishing these old beliefs, these beliefs that we've held for a really long time that have been what we've thought were our guiding posts in life. Now we are recognizing that actually those beliefs are old, they're outdated. And so whatever is being illuminated to you through your work, illness, health, pets, your responsibility is illuminating something within your subconscious mind. It's ultimately to help you grow towards a better environment day to day, a better mindset, a better way of communicating with others, and releasing instead old, outdated beliefs and creating new ones that are more in alignment with where you are now. Yeah. Okay, let's see what I have for you guys here. 3 of Wands. This is wonderful. The 3 of Wands shows up when we are in a stage of, for some of you guys, you may be wanting to travel. Like that could really be a thing with the 3 of Wands. You're wanting to explore, you're wanting to, and maybe this isn't physically, maybe for some of you guys it is, but some of you guys it's like, exploration of the consciousness, learning. Maybe you're wanting to learn new methods, new philosophies, expanding your mind in different ways in order to see beyond your current situation, or to be able to see your current situation from a different perspective, one that is freer, one that is filled with new possibilities rather than old, outdated stories. The 3 of Wands comes up when you're ready to embark on something. So it's like you're ready for a new journey. And this could be externally in the real world, or it could be an emotional or internal journey that you take, that you're undertaking, right? Neither is better or worse. Jupiter recently moved into your 7th house and is opposing this, opposing you guys now. I talked more about that in my Jupiter and Cancer video. But yeah, that's going to be squaring off with, so there may be like relational issues coming up that are deeply rooted in your childhood experiences or your relationship with your parents because of this Jupiter-Saturn square, but I talk more about that in that video as well. Is there anything else that is coming up? No, I think that's it. All right, Capricorns, let me know how this resonates for you guys. If you'd like to work with me, I'll have the link in the description below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys next time. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this full moon in Sagittarius happening in your 11th house. Your 11th house is about friends, social networks, where you feel like you belong out in the world. It is technology, the internet. It's your hopes, dreams, and visions for the future. It's money that you make from your career as well. So maybe some of you guys are making some money off your career. Maybe you guys are, over the last 6 months, since we had a new moon in Sagittarius on December 1st of 2024, maybe there's been a change in the groups that you're a part of or how you feel in those groups. And maybe you have new networks, maybe you have new friends, maybe you're changing your hopes, visions, and dreams for the future. And that's something that was began 6 months ago, and now maybe some part of that is coming to fruition, and you're getting illuminated to something around your friendships and where you feel like you belong. And with the sun in your 5th house, opposing it during this time, it makes me feel like you're getting illuminated about how you get to be yourself and still fit in somewhere. And is that your current state of being? Because if it's not, if your friend groups don't allow you to shine bright and to still be your unique individual self, then maybe it's time to look for different groups, different communities. And maybe you already realized this and you've been working on it and this is the fruition, but maybe for some of you guys, there's an illumination, right? This is a general reading, so I have to be very broad here. But yeah, maybe there is an illumination happening around the current community that you're in and how it's not supportive of you being your zany Aquarian self. Your ruler is about to move signs, you guys. This is big, right? It's going to go into Gemini. So it's finishing up in your 4th house, destabilizing some aspect of your inner world, your emotional foundations, because it's like, hey, we're about to move into this very unique sense of self-expression with Uranus moving into your 5th house of self-expression. Before we do that, we need to like really shake up any old loose foundations internally that are keeping us from being able to like move forward in that zany self-expression over the next many years when Uranus is going to be in Gemini. So something to think about there too. And you've got Venus in the 4th house as well. So it's kind of like holding this dichotomy between Uranus and Venus, which is like Uranus shaking things up and Venus wanting to keep the peace. So how can you do both of those things together in your 4th house of home, with your family, within yourself, emotional foundations as well, right? And your other ruler, Saturn's in the 3rd house, squaring off with Jupiter. I already made a video about that, so I have that link down in the description. The Jupiter and Cancer all signs video talks about the Jupiter-Saturn square. I also talked about it in the overview of the Jupiter in Cancer video that I did too. So talked about that a lot, actually. But yeah, so all of this coming together, for me, it feels like there's a new way of making money for you guys. Because the sun and moon are squaring off with the nodes. And the nodes are in your 2nd and 8th house. North node is in your 2nd. So over the next year and month or so, it'll be in this part of your chart. And it's asking for new aligned ways of making money. Possibly in spiritual matters, but not for everyone, right? This is a general reading. So in order to do that, it's saying you need to, number one, find the right communities to do that for. Maybe it's showing up online in a different way as well, because the 11th house is technology and the internet. So maybe finding online groups is going to be very helpful for some of you guys right now, where you can be yourself and shine bright. And that's going to be able to push you into this evolutionary process of making money in a new aligned way. Let's see what card I have for you guys. Oh, the moon. Very interesting. Very interesting, because the moon is a Neptunian card. And this is about, it's about intuition, but it's really, to me, this is about the unconscious. And it's interesting because you guys don't have anything going on in the 12th house right now, but I wonder if you've been getting messages in your dreams, or if you're doing like hypnotherapy or any sort of thing like that, maybe you're getting some messages that way that are pushing you towards something. If that's you, then this is a confirmation that they're not crazy, or that you're not crazy. The messages aren't crazy and you're not crazy, and to listen to them because they're trying to push you in a certain direction. But you know, the moon card is often associated with like deception. And I think the reason why is because the moon is an unconscious part of our chart generally. We don't have it's like something that needs to be fulfilled. It's not very conscious of us. It demands to be seen. The deception can often be from ourselves. So the question I ask myself when the moon comes up is like leaning into intuition, leaning into my dreams and all this stuff, and also like, where am I deceiving myself? Are you deceiving yourself in believing that the current people in your life are going to be supportive of yourself? When they've shown you time and time again that they're not, right? Like, at what point are you going to be making a leap of faith here, right? This is Sagittarius. Yeah, that's something that you've got to tune into yourself. So Aquarius, let me know how this resonates for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you'd like to work with me, I'll have my link in the description down below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Last and definitely not least, my Pisces. Okay, Pisces. This is big for you guys, especially if you have anything around 20 degrees of Pisces or any other mutable sign. You guys have this full moon in your 10th house. So what was going on around 6 months ago, December 1st, 2024, regarding your career, your public status, your reputation, your legacy, anything with your bosses or authority figures, this could be coming to a fruition right now. Maybe you're getting some sort of illumination around your current career, around your boss, around your reputation during this time. And it's coming from a deep place of like wanting emotional satisfaction because in whatever you're doing out there in the world, because the sun is in your fourth house and that's what's illuminating this moon. So some message is coming through from your emotional world that is trying to get you, and you guys are very, very intuitive, and Pisces rules the 12th house of dreams, right? So this could very much be like you're getting a message in your dream, or somebody is saying something that evokes sort of emotional response around this full moon, around what you want to accomplish in the world, what your sense of social service is in a greater sense and in a material sense, right? Because this is the work house that's being illuminated. And you've got Mars in the 6th house as well, wanting you to work hard towards something. And then you've got Saturn and Neptune in the 2nd, opening up this whole new paradigm regarding how you make money and how you feel supported and how you support yourself. Really, the 2nd house is how you support yourself rather than how you feel supported. And what's interesting is that this sun-moon opposition, the full moon in your 4th and 10th, are actually squaring off with the nodes in your 1st and your 7th. So it's about releasing old, outdated ways of relating to other people so that you can be more and more yourself and step into your own unique identity and path in this lifetime. This is not to say that, you know, you have to let go of relationships, although you may have to if they are not healthy, but more about releasing interpersonal dynamics. So one thing I see with my Pisces people, who I just adore, is that you guys are, along with Virgos, very likely to self-sacrifice in very subtle ways for you guys, more so than Virgos. Like, Pisces is such an ethereal sign. It's just, and I've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating like every single time, is that this material world almost feels like it wasn't made for Pisces, which is exactly why this material world needs healthy Pisces, because we need your sense of understanding of the spiritual realm to be brought here. Oh, I just got tears in my eyes. Oh. Yeah, I really felt that. We need that here on Earth. And maybe that's your emotional message that you needed. Was me crying. Okay. We need that here on Earth. And in order to do that, there needs to be a really close examination of if there are self-sacrificial patterns in your relationships, because that's not going to create a healthy Pisces. So it's like, how do we create a better balance there? And whatever's happening with your career and your emotional foundations in your home life, your family life, all of that stuff is really just trying to push you into becoming this very big version of yourself in that first house, the North Node in the first house, right? Yeah. Let's see what tarot card I have for you guys. Okay, yeah. Page of Cups. An emotional message. Pages are literally messengers and cups is emotions. So someone is going to evoke something in you. You may be getting a message in a book or something you read or from your dreams or something like that. That message is going to help you see something. And maybe this is also going to help you begin something new. With Jupiter in the 5th, like I wonder for some of you guys, and the cups can rule creativity and romance too. So like maybe it's like, yeah, maybe there's a new romance in your life, or maybe there's a new desire for creativity in your life as well with the Jupiter and Mercury in the 5th. With Saturn in the 2nd, you may feel like financial constraints around this time. I talk more about this in my Jupiter and Cancer video, so make sure you check that out if you're interested in that. So, but especially because you guys are ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, and those are both kind of involved here because Saturn and Neptune are right next to each other, squaring off with Jupiter. There is this definitely like inner tension, inner friction, maybe even conflict, externally possibly too, but really internally I feel with you guys around how do I express myself creatively and make sure that I'm financially taken care of and feel safe within my own body. So Pisces, let me know how this resonates for you guys. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'll have the link in the description below. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. It really means a lot, and I will see you guys next time.